Chapter 13. The sun's first rays flung wide the gates of dawn. The inhabitants of Redwall were already up and about. After breakfast, the abbot issued daily orders. All those not employed defending the abbey would husband the crops, gather in supplies for the ladders in the event of a prolonged siege. Young otters collected watercress and fish. Cornflower headed a party of mice to reap the early cereal crops. More youngsters tended the salad gardens. The bright summer mornings hummed to the bustle of industrious woodlanders. Ambrose Spike, now sufficiently recovered, sat in the storeroom taking a stock. Lots of nuts and preserved berries from last autumn, apples and pears aplenty. Unfortunately, the hedgehog could not check the cellars. Brother Edmund and Friar Hugo had only 2 keys. He licked his lips at the thought of a little of barrels of nut brown ale, strong cider, creamy stout, and little kegs. Ah, yeah, dear, those little kegs full of elderberry wine, mulberry brandy, and black currant port, and a wild grape sherry. You're a hedge pig. Them be essence a puttin' these roots and dandelions. Hasten up, thee right heavy. Ambrose Spike sighed wistfully as he attended to the 2 moles staggering under a bundle of dandelion and tubers. Our old little tater steady, Bill. Ger tip 'em up, Lego. More baby moles. Ambrose Spikes pulled the bandage on his wound. The hedgehog's work was never done. Matthias and Constance stood in the cloisters. They had taken charge of the weapons training. The woodlanders had each showing off their special skills. In more peaceful days, these skills would have been used at fairs and sporting contests, but now when the need arose, they would be used with more deadly effect. The otters carried bags of smooth pebbles which they hurled from vine slings with great force and accuracy. Groups of their field mice archers notched their thistledown shaft to the strings of their longbows. Many marauding birds had been driven off by these same tiny archers. Bands of Redwall mice practiced at thrust and parry with staves. Below the wall, the Abbey grass Formel directed his crew as they dug a trench. This was lined with sharpened stakes by a solitary beaver. A system of ropes and pulleys carried the basket of stone and trench debris up to the ramparts. Defenders piled it in heaps at the edge of the parapet. Matthias took a group of Redwall mice to instruct in the use of quarterstaff. He had discovered himself a natural skill with the long-ash pole. None of the mice had ever competed with any type of violent sport, and they were awkward and timid. But as it was a personal choice between learning and cudgel and wrestling from Constance or quarterstaff from Matthias, to a mouse they had opted for the latter. Matthias found that he had been quite severe with them. Matthias found that he had to be quite severe with them. Accordingly, he dealt out some hefty blows and hard falls to make the more timid souls angry enough to retaliate. Keep that head guarded, Brother Anthony. Thwack. I warned you, brother. Now look out. I'm coming after you again. Thwack. No, don't just stand there, brother. Defend yourself and hit out at me. Thwack, crack. This time Matthias sat down hard, rubbing dazed at the sore head. Constance chuckled. Well, Matthias, you've only got yourself to blame. You asked Brother Anthony to hit out at you, and my word, he certainly obliged. I'll have to recruit him for my cudgel class. He shows promise. Matthias stood up, smiling ruefully. He rested on his staff, weapons of war. He's very strong, but I do wish we had some real weapons of war, swords and daggers and such like. We wouldn't kill many rats with wooden staves. Maybe not, the badger replied, but you must remember that we are here to defend, not attack or kill. Matthias threw down his staff. He took a dipper of water from the oaken pail, drinking deeply, then splashed the remains over his aching head. A wise observation, Constance, but you try telling that to Clunia's herd. See how far that'll get you. Lunch that day was served out in the orchard. Matthias lined up with the other woodland creatures to collect his food. A bowl of fresh milk, a hunk of wheaten loaf, and some goat's milk cheese. Cornflower was serving. She gave Matthias an extra large wedge of cheese. He rolled up his sleeve of his habit and pulled out the corner of her scarf. Look, Cornflower, a very close friend gave this to me last night. She laughed at him. Get along and eat your lunch, warrior mouse, or I'll show you my deadly aim with a piece of cheese. Strolling along the dampened shade of the orchard, Matthias sought out old Methuselah, slumping down beneath a damson tree. The young mouse munched away at his lunch. Methuselah was sitting with his back against the tree, his eyes closed in an apparent doze. Without opening them, he addressed Matthias. How goes the practice war, young stave master? Matthias watched some of the tiny ants carrying off his fallen breadcrumbs as he answered. As well as possible, brother Methuselah. And how are your studies coming along? Methuselah squinted over the top of his spectacles. Knowledge is a thing that one cannot have enough of. It is the fruit of wisdom. It can to be eaten carefully and digested fully. Unlike that lunch you are bolting down, little friend. Matthias set his food to one side. Tell me what knowledge you have digested lately, old one. Methuselah took a sip from Matthias's milk bowl. Sometimes I think you are a very old head for such a young mouse. What more do you wish to know about Martin the warrior? Matthias looked surprised. How did you know I was going to ask about Martin? Methuselah wrinkled his nose. How do the bee folk know that there is pollen in a flower? Ask away, young one, before I doze off again. Matthias hesitated a moment, then blurted out, Brother Methuselah, tell me where Martin lies buried. The old mouse chuckled drearily. Next, you are going to ask me where to find the great sword of Martin the warrior. But how did you know that? Stammered Matthias. The ancient gatehouse keeper shrugged with his thin shoulders. The sword must lie buried with Martin. You would have little use for the dusty bones of a bygone hero. A simple deduction, even for one as old as I am. Then you know where the warrior lies? Methuselah shook his head. That is one thing no creature knows. For many years now, I have puzzled and pored over ancient manuscripts, translating and following hidden trails, always with the same result. I have even used my gift of tongue, speaking to the bees and others who can go into places too small for us. But always it is the same, rumors, legends, and old mouse tales. Matthias crumbled more bread for the ants. Then the warrior's sword is only a fable? Methuselah leaned indignant. Who said that? Did I? No, but you. Bah, nothing of the sort, young mouse. Listen carefully to me. I have an uncanny feeling that you may be the one I've been saving the vital piece of information for. Matthias forgot his lunch. He listened attentively. About 4 summers ago, I treated a sparrowhawk who had pulled a sinew in her foot. She could not use her talons properly. As I remember, I made her promise never to take a mouse as prey. She was a fierce, frightening bird. Have you ever been up close to a sparrowhawk? No, of course you haven't. Well, let me tell you, they can hypnotize small creatures with those savage golden eyes. Born killers they are. But this hawk said something that made me think. She talked of the sparrows, which called them winged mice. Said that many years ago they sold something from our Abbey, a treasure that belonged to mice. Wouldn't say what it was, just flew off. Who expects gratitude from a sparrowhawk anyway? Matthias interrupted. Have you ever spoken to sparrows about this something? Matthias shook his head. I'm too old. I can't climb up to the roof where they're nested. Besides, the sparrows are an odd bird, forever quarreling and chattering on their strange voices. They are warlike creatures, extremely forgetful and completely savage. They'll throw you from the roof and kill you before you had a chance to get near their tribal nests. Yes, I'm far too old for such a sort of thing, Matthias. And anyhow, I'm not too sure that the sparrowhawk's story was true. Some birds can be dreadful liars when they have a mind to be. Matthias tried questioning brother Methuselah further, but the warm sun had worked its magic upon the old gatehouse keeper as he sat in the orchard savoring the peace and tranquility of the June afternoon. This time there was no deception. He was genuinely fast asleep.